Salutations, this is Gremdavel, and welcome to our Let's Play of Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. It's been quite a while since the last time we played DCSS on this channel, and we are now in version 0.32. In fact, this version came out in August of 2024. I'm recording this at the very beginning of February 2025 is when I'm starting this series. So it's been out for a while, and, you know, the DCSS crew tends to come out with a couple of versions a year, so Trunk is pretty full of new features, and it probably won't be long before we see a new version. But because it's been a couple of versions since the last time we played, there's a lot of changes since the last time. And I think we should go through some of those. You'll probably notice if you haven't played the game or seen any content about Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup since the last time we played, the species list looks a little different than normal. We have, for example, no more ogre. Instead, it's been rebranded as the Oni, although it's functionally pretty similar. They got rid of the orc, the hill orc, and is now a mountain dwarf, which has huge implications for one of the gods. Bio is no longer... Well, sorry, Bio is still in the game, but Bio is now able to be worshipped by any species, which is pretty huge change. There are a lot of changes to the gods. Is also, and that might not be the only species change. There are, I think, a few other tweaks, but one of the other major ones, there is a new species here called a Coglin that I thought might be really fun to try. And also, I apologize, the music, I need to figure out what the right volume is because my music stuff has reset a little bit since the last time we played. But we'll figure it out. The music of this series is going to be a combination of... this song is my own, but my own music is just a very small part of my playlist. The rest of the playlist is the... as the last few times we've played this game, the Dwarf Fortress, the Steam version of Dwarf Fortress soundtrack, and the Caves of Cud soundtrack by Craig Hamilton, both of which the devs have given me permission to use, and I have bought the soundtracks, and I encourage everybody watching this, if you enjoy the music, to buy both of those soundtracks. And that's how I feel good about using that music. By giving it that plug. All right, so we're going to try a Coglin. And we're going to... Let's see. A Coglin is interesting, and I don't know if I can get a description of... Can I get a description of the Coglin? Okay, Coglins ride enchanted exoskeletons. I can't... able to wield weapons in both hands, wrapping slow revving metal around their puny goblinoid frames. So the Coglin is really special and unique in that they dual wield. No other species dual wields. And there are some interesting things that go along with that. They also cannot wear any jewelry, which is a pretty huge difference and obviously a big debuff, but instead... over time, I think once they reach level 14, they start to build their own devices, which have some of those resistances and features that you would find on jewelry on them, and they kind of become an innate part of their character. So we're going to try this. The last few times we've played this game successfully, we've done, I guess we haven't really done a melee type build in a while. I guess the Brigand was a little bit melee, but I'm just talking about a strength-based melee fighter. I've never played a Beserker. I don't think I've played a Beserker on my channel. I think one of the ways that the easiest way to win the game is often to play a Minotaur Beserker is kind of the go-to thing. But we've never done a Beserker on this channel, so I thought it'd be fun. I think Trog is going to be a good god for a fun Coglin run. So the Beserker is one of the backgrounds. Oh, some of these have changed too. Major changes to how shapeshifting works. There's now a shapeshifter background, and shapeshifting has completely changed. It is no longer a magic... It's still a magic school, but there are no magic spells regarding shapeshifting. You now use talismans for that instead. There's also no more poison magic. It is now called alchemy. There are some new backgrounds since the last time we played too, like Reaver. Really interesting stuff. So I don't think Reaver was in it last time, but we're going to do Beserker. It's been around for a long time. Berserkers believe in Trog, the magic-hating god of frenzy. Not much can stop a raging berserker early on apart from hubris. And the trick about a Trog worshipper is you're really encouraged to use berserking as often as possible. And I have a tendency not to use any abilities that cost things like piety. So and that's a change, actually, I think, in this version, or maybe the version before that. Trog didn't used to use piety. The Berserk ability didn't used to cost piety, and now it does cost a tiny bit of piety. So I need to kind of like make myself use those abilities as often as possible, and remember that I have them. We don't have really great weapon aptitudes, I think for really good reason. But because I want to do a Trog run, we're going to be strength-based, and we have got decent aptitudes in them. I think I want to do hand axes. And I say hand axes, plural, because we are going to probably be dual-wielding single-handed hand axes. And maybe something else, we'll see. It may even make sense to wield 2 different types of weapon, if it makes sense for our aptitudes. Okay, so here we are. We are Gremdavel the Chopper, Coglin of Trog. We have, let's see, what do we start with? Only animal skin, a hand axe, and a dagger. Oh, and a cool feature of the Coglins is, for whatever reason, I think it's just flavorful, but you end up naming the weapons that you wield, and as if they were like unique weapons, which is really cool. And one of the reasons that happens is mechanically, one difference when you wield a weapon, not only do you name it, but it takes longer to wield and unwield weapons as a Coglin. I think if I hit Shift A here, you can see our innate abilities. You can wield a second weapon in your offhand. It takes a long time. I think it's 5 ticks, 5 game units, to wield or remove held weapons. It's the same amount of time it would take to wield or unwield an amulet. Your first few attacks do less damage, so you have this concept of revving your attacks. So at first they're slower than normal, but then eventually they get to normal speed, but you're attacking with 2 at once. So you ultimately do a lot more damage than other characters because you're doing damage with 2 weapons. And you cannot equip rings or amulets. Really big difference. And we do start with a god as a Berserker. We start with Trog. We start with a pip of piety with Trog, so that means we can immediately use the Berserk ability. We can go Berserk at will. You can see there's also this ability to invent a gizmo, and if I look at that description, uses your peerless Coglin ingenuity to invent and assemble a one-of-a-kind piece of equipment and permanently install it in yourself. Such inspiration does not strike twice, so choose wisely. Yeah, so I think this happens when you reach level 14, so it's going to be a while. And you'll, like, over time, you'll get some flavor messaging about what that's going to be named, what it might be. And that's all you're going to get. There's no rings, no amulets, so you have to be careful about where you get your resistances from. Which is another good reason we've got 2 weapons, so we can get, if we get unique weapons, we can get resistances and abilities from those. And of course our armor, we can wear all of our armor. We're going to look at our aptitudes. I do have another thing is, the last time we played, we were playing on the Kelby server. That server no longer exists. They deprecated the server, and now this is just on the main crawl, like the central crawl server. So I think my morgue file, I think it's still in some server somewhere. I think they saved all that data, but it's not attached to this one. I also don't have a bot anymore. I used to have Beam or Seam or whatever it was called as like the bot on this server, and I would use it whenever I needed information about a monster. I don't know if it's a change in the fundamental game or if it's something unique to the server that I'm just not used to. But in this version of DCSS, there's a lot more information that they give you when you look at enemies. And I no longer feel the need to look at that bot. I feel like all the information is now present in the game. They've also added like a pink color to warn you when an enemy is not just dangerous, but like you should know something special about them. Like they have, like this particular enemy has a net or a wand. They'll be highlighted in a different color, which I find very useful. Okay, I've done a lot of talking here. I've done like almost 10 minutes of talking. So we're going to do some auto-exploring. This is level 1. Oh, sorry, I didn't even change my abilities. I'm going to cap dodging. I'm going to hit equals and then H for dodging. And we're going to want to be focusing on armor mainly. We're going to be strength-based. We're going to be wearing heavy armor because we're not going to be using any magic. Trog is a god that hates magic. So we're intentionally not going to be using any magic, which means we're going to be wearing the heaviest armor we can find. So we're going to be upping our armor skill and probably not caring very much about our dodging. So I'm going to cap it at 2 just to get that like very baseline, so it's not an irrational number. Or just so it's an integer. I'm going to lower the music a little bit. Sometimes it feels too quiet, and then all of a sudden it'll feel just a tad loud. All right, maybe there. I'm probably going to keep adjusting the music, and what are you going to do? So that's capped. And then our axes. I'm going to focus skill on axes there by hitting C and making an asterisk, and then looking at the hand axe that it gives us to start with, and hitting S to set the skill target on axes as 14. The skill we'd reach level 14 at about 12 levels if we at our current training. So we're going to do that. Now we start also with a dagger, which we don't have any training in short blades, and that's okay. One interesting thing is here, if we hit the @ symbol, Shift 2, it tells us the damage rating with our 2 weapons, which are different, but you'll notice that it says your attack delay is about 1.0. We only have 1 attack delay, which I think it figures that out by the average of the 2 weapons. So if you're wielding like a really heavy and slow weapon in one hand, but for example, a dagger of speed in the other, they might balance out, and you can actually get that get those really heavy attacks with the slow weapon at the speed that you would with a much lighter weapon. It averages them out. So of course, the more we train axes, the better our attack delay will be. And daggers are just a nice short. Like I think you start with no aptitude in short blades. Daggers will attack at 1.0, just one tick per second.